Hello, I am board member Erin Webb, and I wanted to bring attention to a program that all of Oak Ridge schools participate in called Food for Kids. I have Kara Weigel with me today to talk a little bit about this. Hello, Kara.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Many of you may not know about this awesome program that happens from week to week at the schools, so I wanted to bring some attention to it. So, Kara, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been volunteering with this?
I've been doing the program for 4 years.
Okay.
But First United Methodist Church has actually been doing this program for more than 10 years.
Nice. And what can you tell us, what's the background of Food for Kids? How did this start? Do you know how it started?
It started, I think, one of our volunteers from the church just felt that there was a need for it and investigated and checked into it and worked with Second Harvest and started the program, and we're very grateful.
Nice. Yeah, and it is a program in coordination with Second Harvest Food Bank. Mm-hmm. So one of their big facilities is located nearby in Maryville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and look at, we have some footage. We filmed last month the delivery and kind of packaging and what all happens in the gym at First United Methodist. So let's look at some of that footage and we can kind of talk through what's going on. So if you'll look right there, there's the giant truck that I can hear back in from my office. They come and bring a lot of food. And then, this is our friend Joel, right? This is Joel. Is he the usual deliverer?
He's the usual.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And he brings in the pallets of food and walks those kind of down the hallway, gets everything set up. While we're waiting on him to walk that down, how many people show up to help do this? What are the numbers?
I'm giving you figures from last school year,
okay,
since of course we haven't finished the school year until next month, so I don't have all the figures for this year. But for the 2017 and 18 year, we averaged about 50-some volunteers every month.
Okay, and they just show up. How do you know they're coming? Are you surprised every week or every month when they come?
Sometimes I don't know how many will be showing up, and that is most months. Some of our volunteers are from our own church, First United Methodist. There are other volunteers that volunteer from some of the other churches. I have people that have seen this on our website at the church, and they have inquired about the program, and so they help. Then I also have, I have a few that come even in the Knoxville direction that help. And then I have Girl Scouts and some Boy Scouts and their parents a lot of times will help. So it is a wide variety of people and ages.
I can imagine. So here's where he's unloaded some of the pallets. There are a lot of pallets that come in, and he unloads the food to the tables that are set up, and they're kind of divided up in groups, right? How are they divided?
They're divided into 4 categories. The neat thing about Second Harvest and the work of this program is that we try to provide the children with different nutritious items in their bags each month. There are basically 4 categories of food. There is the dairy category, the fruit and vegetables, the proteins, and the grains. And so we take 2 items from each one of those 4 categories to make up 8 items in each bag.
In each bag, okay. Mm-hmm. And then we did a little interview with Joel, our representative from Second Harvest Food Bank. So if we could see that interview with Mr. Joel, please.
Hi, this is Erin. I'm here with my friend Joel. Hi, Joel. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Tell us about where you're from.
I work with Second Harvest Food Bank, and we're at Oak Ridge United Methodist Church. We're delivering food here for the Food for Kids backpack program, and they're about to pack up some bags for us.
Perfect. Okay, so how many bags do we pack every week? Do you know that, or do I need to get that stat from someone else?
That's a stat I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's around 2,000 actually, so it's a lot of bags, but it lasts a month at a time. So we bring enough food for a month for 11 schools, and they pack it all up for us.
All right. So do you know how many pounds? I saw 3 pallets of food.
There's 4.
4 pallets of food delivered. Okay, and you do this once a month.
It's about 4,000 pounds of food. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. So this is the delivery part of it. They come and bring it once a month, and then we're going to put all of this food back here into containers for all the different schools in Oak Ridge, to be continued.
Okay, so that was just a little bit from Joel's perspective of the delivery. And this takes a lot of people to do. I think it's a little bit of a secret, I guess you'd say, because it's such a neat program. Do you know, well, we know that the church has to set up all the tables. Mm-hmm. Are there any other delivery spots in Oak Ridge, or is this where everything happens for the packaging?
This is basically the entire packaging for all of the schools. We actually pack 9 different, we set up for 9 different, some of those are the 4 elementary schools, the 1 preschool, the high school has 2 programs under their category, and then of course the 2 middle schools. So we actually do 9 schools every month.
Okay, so the tables are all set up, and then I think we have some footage from there. There's where the tables are set up. I think we utilize every single table that they own, which would be 40-something tables, I believe. So this is where it's all empty, and the food will start coming in here soon. And what are the labels? Each school?
I label each. Yeah, we put the school names at the end of each table because they vary each month. And the numbers vary each month. That also depends on the table setup. So it's never dull because each month is entirely different.
It's a surprise.
Yeah.
So how do you receive the numbers? I know Jessica Bivens works with the school system, and she kind of gathers all that information. Is that right? How does it go from there?
Jessica Bivens is the assistant to Joe Bruce in the resource department of Oak Ridge Schools, and Jessica sends the numbers to me every month and sends the numbers to Second Harvest every month. Basically, these numbers come from the guidance counselors at each one of the schools that are given to Jessica, and then she forwards them to us.
Okay. And my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if students are hungry, they can tell their teacher, and their teacher would then give their name, and then also if a teacher identifies a student that may be in need.
We don't see the real stories a lot of times, but Jessica will share with me sometimes, and she tells me many times how some of the kids will come to her in her own school at Glenwood, and they will say, "Miss Jessica, I'm hungry," and she usually has extra food on hand, and any extra food that we have each month, it is given back to her and is stored at Glenwood. So if it's not just at Glenwood, that's where the guidance counselors feed her the information. And if she knows that there's kids that need the food, she will transport it to their schools.
Yes. And then if they have siblings at home that need food as well, they get additional bags each week or each Friday.
They just, let me give you an example. For last year, the average that we had every month was about 567 students in the Oak Ridge community. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of children that are needing our help and needing our food. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's take a small break, and then we will come back and see some more of the packing.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back in a moment. Hi, and we're back. We're talking with Kara Weigel, one of the coordinators for the Food for Kid program here in Oak Ridge. We're going to continue on our Food for Kid journey. We're going to watch some clips of some sorting that goes on before all the food's getting packaged. So this is one of the volunteers, and they have to go to all the boxes that were delivered, and they have to count out a certain number, right? What are they looking for?
We don't count out, but we actually, after we open, I make sure that they get all the boxes kind of open before everyone starts putting the food on the tables. It's typical. Some are eager beavers and they want to just jump right in and start. But we try to kind of keep it even when we start. They are taking the food that has been brought in, and they are then putting it on each of the tables where the schools are located. And on each one of those tables will be 8 items.
The grain and the dairy. And
Uh-huh.
So
All
here's the finished table. So they would have, looks like some
Right.
kind of breakfast drink, some vegetables, some fruit, some grain or cereal of some sort. That's a lot of work getting all of that. Getting the boxes in is a lot of work. It's a lot of work getting it out of the boxes.
And it gets confusing because
Yeah.
they'll ask me sometimes, is macaroni and cheese, what's that? And then they'll ask me, okay, where do the Rice Krispies go? They're not considered in the dairy for breakfast, what you think. They're actually part of the grain. So it gets confusing sometimes when the food kind of overlaps to know which food goes on which category.
And it's different food coming in. I mean, you can't consistently expect the same thing every month, right?
A lot of it is very similar each month. The fruit and vegetables will vary, I think, a little bit more, but I'm sure sometimes the kids that receive these think, well, I just got that, or I just got that last month, but we look at it that if you're hungry, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you got pudding in that bag last month or if you got a bar or whatever type thing. So it varies.
And it is a beehive of activity. The gym is swarming full of people, and boxes are being broken down in a corner.
Right.
People are sorting and counting, and
we
a lot
bump
of that.
into each other. And
Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, we have a lot of fun doing it. We get a chance to fellowship with each other. We get a chance to, just hang out with each other, and we see some of the same people, but sometimes we don't see the same people every month because people go on vacation, do different activities, and they can't be there. And some of them are gracious to me, will send me an email and say, oh, I can't be here this month, and I just say, hey, see you next month,
Have you ever had too much help?
One time,
Wow.
I think one time in 4 years, I can honestly say that I had probably too much help, but no, I didn't turn anybody, and I don't turn anybody away. And when they say, oh, well, I came and, they didn't want me to help, that's not my philosophy. There may have been someone else that did the program, but I don't. I try to find a place for everyone that will come, because I feel like there's that many hands that have to do the work and have to do the project.
Yeah.
And if I've got some people that have been working for an hour and a half, nonstop, and they've been standing there on their feet and working hard for an hour and a half, I'll say to them, you've done an hour and a half, why don't you go ahead, because I've got somebody that'll come on and they'd like to do the job that you're doing now. And they don't care. There's never usually any problems with it. So.
Well, on this particular day when we were filming, we caught Pastor Mark Flynn helping. He's breaking down boxes, so I have a little interview with him. He likes to be involved in the different activities. So here's a little word from his involvement.
Food for Kids is this amazing program where people from all over the Oak Ridge area gather here at First United Methodist Church, but really it's the entire community, and it becomes a central hub for distributing food to schools all throughout the Oak Ridge area, schools that are in need, so that children have an opportunity on the weekends to have good food, meals possible to them. They pick them up and put these bags that we're creating into backpacks, and the kids get to take them home over the weekend to make sure they have some nutrition in their life and are ready to come back on Monday morning.
He just wanted to do that interview to get out of breaking down boxes, probably.
He actually does different things. He's excellent worker, and when he comes, he gives at least an hour and a half usually of time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So continue on. We're going to watch some footage of where they start bagging the food. This is really interesting because they get going. It's like machines, and they're putting the food in the bags. So underneath each table, there are tubs with the school names on them, correct? And that's how they're going to leave the building?
The schools bring them to, Jessica brings them to us each month, and she gathers them from all the schools. And then from that point, we distribute them under the tables, and from that point, Second Harvest provides us with the bags, so we take the bags and they count and put the number that needs to be on the bins underneath the tables. And then, of course, as the food is packed, it is put in the bins. And a lot of times you'll have a table that will say there's 42 on it or 44 on it, for example, and we always have 2 bins under. We split them. we can only get about an average of about 22 to 24 bags in each bin. We've been doing it long enough that we know just about how many we can get in, and therefore we kind of have to divide them.
Yeah, there's a lot. As somebody who has helped deliver them on Fridays, it's probably best if there's only 24 in each bin.
And
they can get really heavy.
Then on Tuesday morning, starting at 8:30, this always takes place on a Monday. Then on Tuesday mornings at 8:30, I have the majority of them are retired men, and they bring their pickup trucks, and we load all of those bins onto the trucks, and they deliver them to the schools. And I call each of the schools and let the janitors, the school staff know to notify their janitorial people, and they meet them when they go to unload them.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have some footage of that as well. If you want to show the loading, I think on this day they were loading. It was pouring rain, of course. So there's some footage where they take all of these bins. They put them in the back of their pickup trucks. They deliver them to the schools. So how long, roughly how long does that take to do?
It will depend on the numbers of bins, of bags that, of course, that we're putting into the bins. The minimum is usually an hour, and a lot of times, the max I think we've gone has just been about 2 hours. And there again, it just depends on how many we have to load up and how we do.
So on average, like just take an average elementary school, how many bins are they going to receive? Because they get a full month's supply, right? They're not being delivered weekly, they're being delivered, they get one big batch per month. So this has to do them for the whole month.
These bins, once that they go to the schools will distribute them to the children every Friday. So you're right, we pack it for once a month supply. It's usually 4 weeks. Sometimes depend on spring break or fall break, whatever. We try to work it out the best we can, that it is usually four weeks in between.
So they're going to get a big supply bin. So the schools have to make room for this, and that's great that they can accommodate that, and that the custodians will help unload, because that's a big task. It's putting them in, taking them out,
Most of the time, the custodians, the workers will come back and they'll tell me which custodians at which schools are not helping them, and that's when I kind of take it from there, and I kind of notify the schools and let them know that, we need to have your help in the same way at the other end when we deliver them.
That's a lot of loading and unloading.
It's a lot of lifting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of lifting, and they're heavy. They're very heavy. Yeah.
So these you said these are retired gentlemen. So do you ever have nobody to help do that? I mean, what would you do in that situation?
That is one of our biggest problem areas. I have practically the same men every month that do it, and it becomes, they'll tell me sometimes I've pulled my back, I can't come, I can't help and lift you, and that becomes really the biggest problem is trying to find people that can lift the bins and are willing to lift the bins, because that is the heavy part of is the heavy part of it.
Gotcha. And then we can go on. Here's where this is actually being delivered at Robertsville. I know each of the schools delivers a little bit differently, and they get the bags to the students differently. But I know Robertsville every Friday has volunteers come in. This is Lee Frost, wonderful volunteer, and they hand deliver each of the bags. So there's over 100 that go in the lockers every Friday at just Robertsville. So I know they're always looking for helpers as well. This is obviously a whole citywide effort here. We have volunteers coming in. The church volunteers their space. We have people coming in, giving us the food. So it's an important program, because if these kids didn't have food over the weekend, they're the ones that would suffer. So it's a wonderful program. How can people help? If you need more volunteers at the drop off and the packaging stuff, do you want them to contact? How would you want to be contacted?
A lot of times people will see it on our website, but my name is not listed on it, and a lot of times we just advise you to call the office at First United Methodist Church and call the telephone number, and a lot of times they have directed them to my home phone, and I have talked to people on the home phone, and sometimes I get an email message, and Sometimes it's word of mouth that one person will say, you know what, my friend said she would like to do this, and I say, bring her on. And so at the same time, we just, it's become, I think, well known in the community, but yet we never turn anyone away. We never say no, because there's just always and going to be a need. And just to let you know, in the last school year, we did a total of 15,745 bags of food in 9 months time frame. Some years we have started in September, we end in May. For example, this year we started in August. Since the school schedule has changed in the last couple of years, it depends if they get the information and the numbers ready for us and it gets all set up. But we work hard to get this set up. As soon as we finish this school year, we will start setting up the dates and everything for the fall and for the following school year.
And that's fantastic. Yeah. So do you want to tell me your numbers? I know we had some pretty impressive stats as far as volunteer hours.
Well, the other thing I wanted to share with you is that this program cannot exist without volunteers. And I mentioned to you earlier where we get some of those volunteers from. During the last school year, we put in 795 hours is what we put in for just the Food for Kids program from Monday and Tuesday. That's not counting the volunteers at the schools and elsewhere.
Gotcha. Well, the next packing event's coming up next week.
It's next Monday.
It's Monday.
It's April the 15th and 16th.
So locally, if you'd like to help, you could contact Kara, you could contact the church, you could contact Jessica Bivens, you could contact one of the school counselors, and they'd be happy to put you in touch with us. So thank you, Kara, for telling us about Food for Kids. We appreciate your hard work, and we appreciate all the hours that you put in.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next month on the next Focus on Education.